Okay, so welcome to day two. On day one, we covered what is day trading, why the futures market, and we also gave an explanation as well as instructions on downloading the platform. So good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We are going to go ahead and jump right into the swing of things. Let's see, I think for the most part, everyone had their platform downloaded prior to the beginning of the challenge, except for Francina. I think the platform may have been new for you. Did you have any difficulty downloading it? Were you able to get it downloaded? Let's see. Not yet. Okay, still working on it. Okay, so go ahead and download that as soon as you can. If you require additional instructions, use the links that I gave you on yesterday. They are included in the challenge journal, as well as reach out to NinjaTrader if necessary for additional assistance. I have a Mac. Okay, yes, that is going to be a tad bit more complicated. For the most part, I know that there were a couple people who attempted it with a Mac and it just did not work out for them. They were never able to get it to work out. I don't know if NinjaTrader has been able to provide some sort of something that's compatible to at this time, but I know that the previous individuals that attempted to use their Mac, they were not successful in doing so. So if you have another PC, okay, so that would definitely work out for you. Oh, well, whenever you get that laptop and get it downloaded, we'll get you up to speed and going. So no worries, we'll get you up to speed. Okay, so today with day two, it takes us to fundamental analysis. Day two. If you are ready, go ahead and type a 7 in the chat box and we will keep it moving. All right, so I am seeing 7s. We will continue. I have a very small request. I like for on the final day of the challenge, which my challenges always end on a Thursday, if everyone would wear a green top. The shade green does not matter, but wear a money green top, because by day 5 on Thursday, everyone should be ready to make that money. So everyone, if you could please wear a green top on Thursday, day 5 of the challenge, as well as we will all turn our cameras on, because by that time we want to start working towards getting the bag, and we want the green tops to symbolize just that. So just a small request. So the challenge resources, they are all compiled onto one document. The journal is there. Yesterday, I added the recording from day 1, and my plan is to continue to add the recordings at the conclusion of each session so that everyone has everything in one place. You don't have to go to multiple locations trying to find anything from the challenge. Try to simplify it for you as much as possible. All right, so that takes us to day 2, fundamental analysis. What is fundamental analysis? And for the individuals that are new to investing as well as trading, you may have heard the term, but didn't quite understand what they were asking you to do. Oftentimes individuals will say, do your due diligence, do your own due diligence, do the research on the company, find out what the fundamentals are. When they tell you to do that, they are referring to fundamental analysis. And just keep it simple. We don't overcomplicate it. Fundamental analysis, that's simply the company's finances, the equity, the statements, what they are earning. Did they beat earnings? Did they earn as much as they expected they would earn at this time? The dividends, is the company paying out dividends? Is it one of those stocks in which they pay dividends or not? Some of them do, some of them don't. And how the company is performing overall. Just keep it simple. That's fundamental analysis, how the company is performing. Oftentimes, individuals follow companies based on officers because they know that certain officers typically, they can either turn a company around if it's a company that's not performing as well. They're simply known for having a company to make a lot of money. And some individuals, they just stick with companies that are performing well. So people follow individuals based on that. And then, there are the well-known investors that most people are aware of, like the Warren Buffetts. Everyone knows who Elon Musk is, and we know who, what products they follow. Everyone's familiar with Warren Buffett for sure, although he's making his way out of the game. He was around for an extended period of time, and he did very, very well in investing. So again, how the stocks are performing, how the company is performing, whether it's paying dividend, all of that stuff, that makes up fundamental analysis. Now, fundamental analysis is key and very, very, very important when you are investing. For us, we are trading. We are day traders, meaning we're not staying in the trade for an extended period of time. As a matter of fact, we're not even staying in the trade overnight. We're in the trade for a few minutes and possibly up to a couple hours based on the goal that we have set for the day for that trading session, based on the amount of money that we told ourselves we were going to make during that trading session, as well as based on when we meet support and or resistance, or based on something that could possibly happen in the market and give us clues that it's time to close out of the trade. And we will look at a few of those things. So for us day traders, fundamental analysis, our research should take no more than 5 minutes. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes each day. But we do perform it each day prior to the beginning of each session. Okay, because we do want to be aware of our surroundings, and I'll tell you exactly how to do that during this session. When you are a new trader and you're learning to perform your fundamental analyses, it may take you about 10 minutes initially the first time, but I don't tend to say that things become easier. You become better, because things are just such, and you become better at performing those tasks, which makes it easier for you, which makes it quicker and faster for you to perform. So we will get into a few of the strategies and websites that we use in order to find out the fundamentals of the companies. So the first ones we're going to look at tonight are for the news announcements. News announcements, if the president is speaking or if the Fed, if they are speaking, they tend to cause spikes up and or down in the market. Therefore, you want to be aware of the date and time at which the announcement is taking place so that you can properly prepare around it. As a new trader, I often suggest that they do not trade during announcements, but wait. When I began trading, I would wait 10 to 15 minutes. I would not be in a trade 10 to 15 minutes before the announcement, nor 10 to 15 minutes after the announcements. But after a few years, you may find and create a strategy to trade the announcements. But as a new trader, I do not suggest being in the market when an announcement is going to be made. So let me show you what the CME group looks like and what we look for on that page. So this is the CME group, their economic release calendar, and I will point out a few things for you. So as you can see, it looks like a typical calendar that we have on our wall or on our desk. It has the days of the week across, as well as it's numbered by the date. And this is the July 2022 calendar. So if we would scroll down to today, continue to look at the numbers, the dates. Today is July 25th. So let's find July 25th. And this is July 25th. As you can see, these are all the announcements that were made on today. You see, they began as early as 4 a.m. this morning. This one was 6 a.m., 8:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 11 a.m., and so forth. So, and it continues down, all the way through 7:50 p.m. So there is a 7:50 p.m. announcement, and it lets you know that it is in Eastern Standard Time. So if you are not following Eastern Standard Time, you want to make the adjustments accordingly to your time period. This is how you can plan your trading sessions. You can look at the day in advance. You can look at the week in advance. Say, for instance, you decided that your trading session would be 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time each day. So what you would do, go to this economic calendar, and you would look to see if there are, in fact, announcements during that trading time. So if you are Eastern, you see here, there's a meeting that begins at 8. So you may want to click on it to see what is taking place, and then decide whether or not it's something you want to be trading in. If you want to, get additional details, you can click on it to see. So just look through the week, see what's happening around that 8 o'clock time period in which you stated that you would trade each day. So CME Group is one of the websites, and I will provide specific details to log onto it, go each step to take to reach this calendar. So the next one I want to share with you is investing.com. So if you go to investing.com, click on economic calendar, you will arrive at a calendar that looks like this. It provides the same details that I provided in the CME calendar, but simply in a different format. Now, the formats in the calendar that you choose would be a matter of choice based on your preference, the way it looks, the format of the page, which is more clear for you, and decide one or the other, because there is no reason you would want to follow both CMEgroup.com as well as investing.com, because they provide the same details. So choose one or the other after you take a look at each of them. So this one, you can see it has today, tomorrow, this week, next week. So you can plan in advance. Again, you will look at the times that are listed and it tells you the announcements. Now on this one, the announcements are start by a level of volatility that is expected. Level of volatility, the more it increases, typically the more the stock cost to trade at that time, as well as the more it's, it's just moving up and down, up and down. And it may be difficult to actually spot and or trade your setup. So that's something you want to trade around and be aware of. You can see 3-star, 1-star, 2-star. That's highlighting the volatility that is expected. If you look down here at the bottom, it has the legend to explain that to you. So again, this is investing.com. The announcements that I am very, very careful and pay a lot of attention to are, the Fed's one, whether it's 1-star, 2-star, or 3-star, I caution trading around those, but you will come to find the ones that you like to trade around and do not trade around. It just comes with experience and time. Okay, so those two, investing.com and CME Group, those are your economic calendars. Now I'm going to share with you Earnings Whispers. So Earnings Whispers, earningswhispers.com. This is where you would go to find out which company are releasing their earnings, the date as well as the time. So Earnings Whispers. Here, Monday the 25th, we can see the companies that listed their earnings were reported on today. So we can scroll down and look at the company. It tells you the names of the companies whose earnings are or were reported today. If we wanted to click on tomorrow, Tuesday the 26th, we could click on it and find out who's reporting their earnings on tomorrow. UPS at 6 a.m., Coca-Cola 6:55 a.m. on tomorrow, GM 7:30 a.m. on tomorrow. So if you were trading these companies or stocks that these companies make up a huge percent, you may not want to be trading them at this time, because it could, again, create a huge spike up and or a huge spike down. And it's difficult to trade in high volatility like that with no sure plan of trading through that. You want to have more experience when you're attempting to trade in and through an announcement. So over time, you may develop a strategy to do it, but I typically don't suggest it for new traders. You can wait until after the announcement and have a strategy for trading post earnings, but I don't recommend trading during earnings because you don't know how it is going to respond to what is being presented. Okay, let's go back to the presentation for just a moment and then we'll hop back over because I want to show you a couple more websites where you can find details and how to find details. So for CME Group, you would go to cmegroup.com, click Education, click Events and Webinars, click Economic Calendar Release to find the economic calendar. For investing.com, go to investing.com, click Economic Calendar. Now, another thing you want to be savvy on is whatever you are trading, you want to know the top holders. You want to know the stocks that make up the majority of that instrument so that you can be aware of those earnings. Now, for me personally, I trade NASDAQ. That's my instrument. That's what I trade. So in trading that, I am aware of the companies that make up the larger part of the NASDAQ. So whatever you decide to trade, be aware of the top holdings for that company. And I will share with you. Again, you want to keep it simple, just Google top holdings or whatever it is that you are, deciding to trade, and be aware of them. So for the NASDAQ, we know the top ones are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Google, NVIDIA, and so forth. Different websites tend to have slight variations in how they list the top players, but for the most part, it's going to be very close. So for NASDAQ 100 on this site, you can see how they have them listed. And then I want to share with you, a couple other places, like if you look for, like for the mutual fund, they're going to have them, as well as for the ETF, they may have slight variations in how they have the top ones listed. But again, for the most part, the top ones are pretty much going to be the same. So be aware of those if you decide to trade the NASDAQ. So in addition to being aware of the economic calendar, I want to be aware of when these are reporting their earnings, because it could cause a huge spike up and or down during that time. So those are some key tips that you want to keep in your back pocket. And for Earnings Whispers, they have, the website itself, earningswhispers.com. They also have an Instagram page where you can go to find what's being reported. They also have a Twitter page so that you can go to and find details. So whatever your preference is, whatever form of social media you prefer to use, you can use either one to find out when the earnings announcements are being made on the companies that you are considering trading. Okay, so we're going to hop back into our presentation. So again, once you've done this a few times, maybe a week or so, you'll find all the information you want to know about fundamental analysis in roughly 5 minutes or less, and then you can move on with your trading session. So don't make it a long, drawn out task. Just find what you need, shut it off, and move on with your trading. But do be in the know, be in the know, be in the know. You don't want any surprises during your trading session. All right, I have a pop quiz. I just want to check to make sure that everyone understands, what I am sharing about a fundamental analysis. Although it's not going to be an extended task, I do want you to be able to perform the task. So what I would like for you to do is, I want you to type in the chat box 2 announcements that are taking place on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2 announcements that are taking place on Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will allow you to, so you can go to either cmegroup.com or investing.com. But I would like for you to find 2 announcements that are planned for Thursday at 8:30 a.m. 2 announcements. Give you about 2 minutes to do that. Let's see who's the first one to find it. So announcements for Thursday. Okay, let's take about 10 more seconds. Okay, let's see. Jobless claims and GDP. Ding, ding, ding. All right, Francina. Good job, good going. So let's actually take a look at it. She got it, yay. So Thursday, which is the 28th, see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, jobless claims and GDP, 8:30, 8:30. There's an additional one, but I just asked to. Okay, great. So everyone mastered that concept pretty well. We are going to keep it moving. Let's switch back to our presentation slide. I feel very confident that you can perform this task. All right, so the next thing I want to share with you is a couple of the things that individuals use to decide what they are going to trade. Some look at the margins, the amount of money that is required to trade particular instruments. Some look at a number of things, but I want to go ahead and share with you the margins for a few instruments so that you can be familiar with the website. And if you want to base your tradings on those numbers, you can do so. Also, you can begin to find out, research the top companies of the instruments as you are determining what you will in fact trade. The margins, NinjaTrader's margin sheet is useful for various reasons. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you and share that with you. So here are the current margin levels for today. As you can see, it is dated July 25, 2022. Here are the product codes. Here are the products actually listed out, like M2K, Micro Russell, RTY is the mini Russell. Intraday margin, the amount that's required. Initial margin, the initial amount required. Maintenance margin, and default, if you default on the position, those are the limits. As I shared with you on yesterday, when I began trading, there were no micros. There were only the minis. So the intraday margin, it required 500, whereas the micro requires just $50. So the difference is these micros, they require 1/10 of what the mini requires. So the plus to that, the pro, is it requires a smaller amount in the account to trade it, but it also pays out a smaller amount which is not a bad thing. So keep in mind, you can trade multiples of these instruments and do really well. So I will make sure that you have the link to this. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat box right now so that you have it. Okay, so you can take a look at this. You can go through it and look at all the different products, their codes. You can look at the margins, the amounts that it requires to trade it. And here you can see all the different instruments and all the different products that you can trade. Some things you probably never heard of are listed here, and you can trade them. So here are the bond futures, agriculture, so metals. There's so many, but you want to try and stick to one, two at the absolute most. So, because it would require you to master too many different charts. Each chart moves differently, and each chart moves differently throughout the course of the day. So the way I teach and train to master one chart during one period of the day, so that you are as well as during that period of time. So again, here are all the different instruments that are available for you to trade: agriculture, interest rates, indices, things that you probably never thought about trading, energies, and then it tells you the margins as well. So when you get an opportunity to, you can go through this at length and spend some time looking at all of these different instruments to try and determine what you would like to trade. And once you determine what you want to trade at that point, that is when your economic calendar come into play, as well as your earnings, because you want them to be specific to whatever it is that you are deciding to trade. But for me, I trade the NQ for the most part. If there's extremely high volatility throughout the course of the day based on whatever is taking place, I may trade the micro NASDAQ, which is the MNQ. So for me, I stick with the NQ probably 80 to 90% of the time, and the other 10 to 20% of the time, I will trade the MNQ. Okay. We will switch back over to the presentation. So once you determine what you are going to trade, you do want to find out the top companies of that instrument. I won't have you to do that at this time, but if you decide what you are going to trade today, then add that to your homework assignment. Okay, are there any questions? Any questions on any of the websites that we visited today? Any of the economic calendars, the announcement calendar, finding out about the top companies on what you are going to trade, the margin levels. Any questions? No questions? Okay. So for tonight, what I would like for you to do as your homework assignment, I want you to decide the best time for you to study and trade each day, 1 to 2 hours. And I want you to, let's see, I have a question. How do you decide what to trade? Okay. let's go back to the margin levels for a second. All right, so some people determine what they will trade based on what they can afford. But when budget is not an issue or budget is not a concern, you develop a, I guess, a passion or an interest in a specific chart over time, or based on the way it moves. Some charts are more volatile and move quicker than others, meaning the candles on the chart will move faster. And some charts are smoother. You will develop, some charts develop patterns that you prefer to trade, so you decide to trade that chart. When I started trading, there were like 3 or 4, 5, maybe 5 different charts being used simultaneously. And I gravitated towards the NASDAQ and I stuck there. And I mastered it. I learned the movement of it. I learned patterns of it. And I grew to the point where I could almost predict the movement of it. So once you do decide and settle on one, you want to become the master of that chart. This is the sole reason why I ask newer traders, don't jump around to different charts. Just take one, marry it, and master it. This will get you far and fast. Makes sense? Good. Because each chart moves differently throughout the course of the day. So first of all, you have each chart that already moves differently. And then each chart moves differently intraday. So that's a lot of different movement to attempt to master. But if you select one chart, and it can be either one based on your budget, there will be a number of charts that fits within everybody's budget. The futures market makes it very affordable for most people to start this and get into trading. So that is why I'm so fortunate that this is available for us, so that we can, more of us can take advantage of it, and not only help ourselves, help our families, help our friends, just, change the trajectory of our lives and be serious about doing so. So you can look at, the intraday margins, the initial margins that are required for, these, and, decide on one. It's definitely NASDAQ for me. And, I trade the minis sometimes, the micros when there is high volatility. So once you get your charts up and going, you can, look at the movement of, look at the NASDAQ, look at the, the Russell and the S&P, the ES. So you can look at the mini and the micro. For the most part, these are going to be the same movement throughout the course of the day, but you're going to have different, the volume level will be different, because there would be, like for right now, for the past couple months, for the past few months, the volume in the micro NASDAQ has been a whole lot higher than the volume in the mini NASDAQ. A whole lot more people have been taking advantage of the micro NASDAQ, which is really good. which is really good. So it makes it easy to get in and out of trades. And they are affordable charts. So, and let's see. There is a lot of push now for the nano Bitcoin. Personally, I have not traded it. As you can see, there's a really small requirement to trade it at this time. This video is created July 2022, and this is the margin for the nano Bitcoin. So as you can see, there's a price point for pretty much anyone to get started with trading futures. This is why I, share it with everybody and try to make this opportunity available to as many people as possible. So for anyone starting out, I would suggest look at the NASDAQ, the micro NASDAQ, the Russell, the micro Russell, and the S&P and the micro S&P. So look at these 6 products here, which ultimately will be just 3 products because it's the actual mini and then the micro version of it. It would be the same, just different price points, different charts, but same product at a different price point. So start here, look at these, and if you want to look at others based on the margins, then do so. I know quite a few people that they prefer the bonds because they say that they move a whole lot smoother as well as a whole lot more steady than the NASDAQ. So they prefer to trade these, and they do really well on them. And you can see the margins as well as the initial margins for these as well. But don't spend too much time on selecting a product. Choose one and get going. Choose one and get going, because whatever you choose, master it, learn how it moves, learn the patterns for it, develop a strategy for it. Just get going. Don't allow hiccups to develop where you're trying to become a perfectionist at things that are not the priority. Choose one and let's go. Okay, so that's the margins, and you have the link to go back and review it in details. Again, so for your homework, you are going to decide on a time that you will begin studying and trading. You want to choose a time, not simply for the purpose of this challenge. Think long term, think for the next 2 years. So when you are deciding on this time, think for the next 2 years, this time in which you will not be interrupted on a daily basis. You don't want to choose a time that's going to require you to jump around. The next week, choose a different time. And then the following week, you're now choosing a different time. It's going to make it difficult for you to master the movement or of a particular time if you're hopping around. So as soon as possible, choose a time. And ultimately, what you are going to be doing is adding an additional 1 to 2 hours to the top of your day or at the end of your day. Trying to add this time in the middle of your day, a lot of people have not been successful in doing so because your day can shift in the middle based on emergencies, based on what happened for individuals that are working a job based on the needs of family members. the middle of the day is pretty uncertain. But right now, you know what time your day starts and you know what time your day ends. So you can easily, and or if not easily, easier, it's easier for you to decide a time at the beginning of the day. So for me, because I knew I had to be to work at 7 a.m. So I added 2 hours at the top of my day. My trading time for years was 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. My study and trading time, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., because I knew that that was uninterrupted time, regardless, 7 days a week. That was uninterrupted time. For me, I didn't want to wait and trade after work because after work, I was so exhausted. My job, district administrator, demanding, very demanding. And I wasn't my best if I'm really tired, trying to study at the end of the day. So 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time was my study and trading time. And I stuck with that for years and years and years and years. And that is still, sometimes I still trade during that time. But over the past, I will say maybe the past 6 months, I am now shifting and moving away from that 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time after all these years. That worked for me to get me to where I am. So choose a time at the beginning of the day because you know what time your day starts. You can add more time at the beginning of the day prior to the beginning of your day. So this will be a new beginning to your day, or add a new ending to your day. Again, trying to add study time in the middle of the day, I haven't seen anyone be successful in doing so. Not saying that you cannot be successful in doing so. I just have not seen it happen because they were trying to schedule it in the middle of the day and everything, Murphy law just continued to happen. If something can happen and something can come up, it did. And what suffered? Your trading schedule, your trading studying schedule suffered, and you went ahead and carried out whatever that other task was. So this is just what I have seen thus far. This has been my experience in completing these challenges as well as teaching this course. But you can try it out and see what works best for you. I always say, the last thing I always say, that we're all adults and we're going to do exactly what we want to do. But I can tell you best practices. I'll share best practices with you. I can share you what has worked in the past, what has not worked in the past, where has the most success been found. And you can kind of decide what you want to do based on those things. All right, so choose a time in which you're going to begin studying and trading. Initially, it's going to be just studying. I would like for you to check to see if there are any announcements scheduled over the next 3 days during that time at which you stated would be your study and trading time. I also, on today, I want you to begin watching a live chart or a replay chart, market replay chart for 10 minutes. I would like for you to watch a chart, study a chart for 10 minutes today. And then if you can explain in 3 sentences, what patterns did you notice during that study session, albeit brief, just 10 minutes today? What patterns did you see? What were the candles doing? What did it look like to you? It's being a new trader, you may not pick up on, it's highly likely that you may not pick up on certain patterns, but What did you see? How would you describe it? And I want you to be prepared to discuss these things on tomorrow, day 3, in which we will study technical analysis, because technical analysis is all about patterns. It's repeat patterns is what we master to make this money. The sooner you start with your learning your repeat patterns, what your eyes can see, the sooner the better, the sooner the better. So that on tomorrow, we will study technical analysis. In your journal for the challenge, this homework assignment is also included on day 2 at the bottom of day 2, where you take your notes. The homework assignment is also included on there. Any questions before we run out of here? Any questions, any concerns? We are moving on, moving on. Once we get into technical analysis, we're ready to get onto those charts. Let's see. No questions. Okay, great, great. That means we have all master traders in here already. All right. Or at least mastering the content, totally understanding the content to level of mastery. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. So I'm definitely looking forward to moving on to the charts, making some trades. You are most welcome, Ms. Christine. I am so happy to see you here. You are welcome. You are welcome. Everybody's welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. All right. So if we don't have any questions, we are going to call it a day. I do value your time because I know that the homework will take you a few minutes. I definitely want you to spend that 10 minutes of studying the charts and report back on tomorrow what patterns you saw. So if all hearts are clear, have an amazing evening, everybody. Same time, same place on tomorrow. See you.